Alrighty. Hey guys, it's Carla here, and I am here with Mr. Samuel Ramsey. And Mr. Samuel, how did you get into the varroa side of things in the beekeeping world?
Oh, okay. So the varroa mites are what got me into the beekeeping
Oh,
world.
okay.
I have always studied parasites and predators, trying to
Mm-hmm.
understand their behaviors and how they get so good at what they do.
Absolutely.
And these varroa mites are really, really clever. They're very good at what they do. And
Absolutely.
so studying them got me really interested in the bees and
Mm-hmm.
how the bees are such effective pollinators and really smart organisms that do math on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm just obsessed with the whole system.
Absolutely.
Honeybees, their parasites, us, like all of that together is the most fascinating symbiotic connection.
Absolutely. So, what is one thing right now that you were specifically working towards, like one main goal? I know
Oh,
there's so many, but
my goodness. I have two big goals,
Mhm.
um, and they're divided between my domestic set of goals, my domestic lab, and my international lab.
Yeah,
So, domestically,
you're fine.
domestically, I am trying really hard to focus on this big issue of not just managing Varroa, but managing Varroa sustainably.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's a way that we can target Varroa that hasn't been effectively done previously.
Mm-hmm.
We've discovered through a new set of reproductive pathways in this
Absolutely.
mite that they are dependent on the bees for a set of reproductive proteins that they need to make their eggs. So now that we know what's happening, we might be able to disrupt that and create a system where the mites aren't capable of reproducing. A mite that can't reproduce is a mite that can't continue the population. And
Absolutely.
eventually, if we can get that more broadly distributed in the population, we may be able to reduce the numbers of these mites so substantially that their populations just can't be a problem anymore.
Absolutely.
And then looking ahead to an issue that could be really problematic in the future, the international arm of my lab is working on better understanding the Tropicolaps mites.
Mm-hmm.
How can we control them? What countries are they currently in? Because that's desperately needed an update.
Absolutely.
Our information about where Tropy is almost 15 years old now, and so the updates needed there are very important. So I'm working on both fronts, running around with this work funded by National Geographic
Absolutely.
and the USDA internationally, and then here in the U.S. Work that's been funded by Project Apis M and a ton of beekeepers, and it's a lot of responsibility, but I'm really excited to be able to do it.
Yeah, we appreciate that. I was talking to a beekeeper earlier, and they were talking about how the AAA labs is a weapon, and
Mm-hmm.
it would so easily be brought in. I mean, you bring
Yeah,
in, a cup full of
yeah,
bees in a backpack or something like
yeah.
that, and it spreads through everybody. And so we really appreciate the work that you're doing and
Thank you.
things like that as well. Is there anything short-term goal? You're talking about the sustainability,
Mm-hmm.
treating mites sustainable. What is that? What does that include?
Right now, we are on what we call the pesticide treadmill, where you think about being on a treadmill. You can't actually stop.
Yeah,
I'm sure you've seen like
you
a
can't.
TikTok
Yeah,
video of someone
absolutely,
stopping on a treadmill and then
absolutely.
it just sweeps you right off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, since we're on this pesticide treadmill, we have to keep applying over and over and over
Mm-hmm.
these different chemical applications into the colony, and that has impacts on the environment. If they're not applied properly, can have impacts on honey, but then we can't just stop and ignore the fact that Varroa are currently the greatest challenge to our bees.
Yeah, and they talk about that a lot. And it's kind of the idea, or what I think of it is, everyone took the same shot of antibiotic every single day. There's going to be an awareness that cattle, if you use the same dewormer all the time, there's awareness of that.
Resistance.
And
Mm-hmm.
there's so much to do with the commercial, the end of thing, and then there's oxalic acid, formic acid,
Mm-hmm.
things
Mm-hmm.
like that can be used. I think that's nothing else we need to be aware of. Like, it's so easy to use these chemical treatments, but there is a great resistance. They're starting to come, and in a way, we're just making a worse mite.
Exactly. And that's unsustainable. If
Mm-hmm.
we find that we have one really good chemical and we use it,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to drive resistance and that one chemical won't be
Yep.
effective anymore. So we've already seen that with chemicals like fluvalinate and
Mm-hmm.
flumethrin in the past,
Yep.
which were our go-tos when Varroa first became an issue. Well, those were the ones that we hit them with. Because we kept driving one chemical primarily, they became resistant.
Mm-hmm.
If we're going to develop a system that will allow us to really control these organisms in a sustainable way, we have to reduce the impact on the environment.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason why I'm trying to target this to a reproductive process that only the varroa mites have. They don't share this with the bees. They
Mm-hmm.
don't share this with any other organisms that we know of right now. So targeting it specifically to their biology makes this a much more sustainable way of managing them.
Yep.
It's still something that eventually they would develop resistance to if we only used that.
But
so we have to rotate. Exactly.
Yeah, and that's something that no one's ever understood before.
Mm-hmm.
No one's ever understood, like the fat body thing you came up with. Forever it was just blood. Mm-hmm. Nobody understood that, and you're doing really great work, and we appreciate it so much. So for the backyard beekeeper that would be listening, what kind of treatments would you suggest?
Oh, I'm sorry. What kind of
treatments would you suggest to treat their mites?
So,
or would you consider more on getting mite-resistant bees, working towards genetics on that?
All of it.
All of it, yeah.
So to my mind, so I went to the ag school at Cornell when I was an undergraduate, and we constantly talked about integrated pest management, IPM, and you have a bunch of tools at your disposal. You shouldn't just rule out whole sections of your tool chest, because there may be a set of circumstances where that specific tool will be called for. So knowing the right set of circumstances to use certain things. So my operation, the things that I use in my operation, likely won't work as well in another person's operation in another part of the country.
Absolutely. Because there's different climates and things like
that. Precisely. Take for example, when I was in Maryland, and which is most of my beekeeping experience has been in Maryland and in Thailand.
Yeah.
So very different from where I am right now in Colorado. But we had enough of a temperature drop between our high and low temperatures where we could use formic acid pretty consistently as a means of treating. The farther south you go, the less likely it is that you will be able to effectively apply formic acid as your primary treatment.
So like here, we have a few months that we can do it in the fall.
Yeah.
And if you get a cold day, you can do a flash treat it in the spring or in the summer. But you're absolutely right. You and thymol, you need to be super careful with it. Yeah. And you end up hurting your bees more if you do it not effectively with it.
Exactly. It would be better that you did not use anything than that you use something that's going to kill off your queen and a bunch of your open brood. It can really cause problems if you're not using it effectively. And this is why we say the label is the law. But more than it just being the law, it's there to protect you and to protect your bees themselves. There are other chemicals like thymol, which can be really effective, but you have to make sure that you're using it correctly. You're using it to the best possible instructions that are provided you for that. Because if you don't, it's not going to kill that many mites, and you've just introduced something into your colony that was a waste of your time and is increasing your ecological footprint. So I would suggest that people going to beekeeping groups is wonderful because you can compare notes to people who are in your same environment. And so getting a better idea from the people around you what's very effective in your climate can be really helpful when you're just starting out. The rest of it is through trial and error. The Bee Informed Partnership and Honeybee Health Coalition have provided great resources on all of these things. And the Honeybee Health Coalition has it has a pamphlet called Tools for Varroa Management. And that provides all the information you could possibly need about the temperatures in which you can apply different things. And it also integrates information from different sources like the Bee Informed Partnership that show that individuals who treat with this particular chemical are likely to lose substantially fewer colonies than individuals who treat with this one or with that one. So yeah, I'd recommend checking in on that and then applying and seeing what the best are for your operation.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for letting me interview you.
Of course. Very nice to talk to you.